Hello, Commanders fans. If you're like me, you're still buzzing from the spectacular victory against the Browns in Week 5. Today, I have some hot, exclusive information that will make you even prouder of this franchise. Listen up. The Commanders just did something no one expected. And when I say no one, I'm serious. We're talking about neutralizing one of the most dominant players in the league, Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns. Yes, you heard that right. That defensive monster couldn't do anything against our offensive line. Not even an assisted tackle. But hold on. This is just the beginning of the story, and I'm going to tell you everything in detail. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because you'll want to stay up to date with everything that's happening here, and of course, leave a like on the video. Now, let's talk about the game. Everyone knows that NFL games are fought in the details. But this matchup between the Washington Commanders and Cleveland Browns was a true masterclass in dominating all phases of the game. The final score of 34-13 leaves no doubt. It was the most convincing victory of the season so far. And look, even with all the difficulties the Browns have been facing, defeating an NFL team with such ease is not something that happens every day. Especially because, as they say, this is a field goal league, meaning games are decided by very small margins. So, why did the Commanders win with such authority? And more importantly, why does this victory make it seem like we're ready for the playoffs? I'll tell you the 4 main reasons that explain this success and why Jayden Daniels and his crew are establishing themselves as serious contenders in the NFC. Get ready, because what follows will make you even more excited about what the future holds for our team. First, let's start with the defense. My friend, what this defense did to Deshaun Watson and the Browns offense was a true masterpiece. I know Cleveland's offensive problems this year are already well known, but even so, what we saw was a defensive massacre. Washington practically swallowed Watson and their offense during the first half. They managed, just imagine, to limit the Browns to 0 third down conversions in 8 attempts. That's right, 0 for 8. Moreover, the Browns could barely gain yards, only 68 net yards in 29 plays, with a ridiculous average of 2.8 yards per play. If you think you've heard the best, hold on because there's more. Watson was sacked 3 times in the first half alone, and the Browns were forced to punt on 6 of their 7 possessions. In other words, the Commanders' defense simply suffocated the opposing offense. And you know what's most impressive? They managed to do this consistently throughout the game, something we don't always see in the NFL. Even when Terry McLaurin fumbled at the beginning of the third quarter, putting the defense in a tough situation, they held the Browns to just a field goal, a true wall. Another point to highlight is how the defense responded throughout the game. Even with some penalties that gave Cleveland some breathing room, the Browns' offense could barely breathe. And before you ask, yes, the only touchdown they scored was in the famous garbage time, meaning when the game was already decided. Until that point, the Browns' offense had been sacked more times than they had scored. That's almost surreal. And here's a statistic that sums up the defensive dominance well. The Browns had more penalties than points for most of the game. That, my friends, is elite defense. Overall, the Commanders' defense allowed only 212 net yards and 13 points, while forcing 7 punts and getting 7 sacks. These numbers are worthy of a top 5 defense in the league. And if you thought our defense was the team's weak point at the beginning of the season, now you can breathe easy. After 2 consecutive high-level performances, against the Arizona Cardinals and now against the Browns, we can confidently say that this defense is evolving to be one of the best in the NFL. Who would have thought? But we can't just talk about the defense. We have to praise our quarterback, Jayden Daniels. Folks, what this kid is playing is something special, okay? He didn't complete 80% of his passes like he did in other games. In fact, he had a 56% completion rate against the Browns, but who cares? The important thing is that he continues to make explosive and decisive plays. He threw for 238 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. And there's more. He was the team's leading rusher, with 82 yards on 11 attempts, and still converted several crucial 3rd and 4th downs. Daniels' connection with Terry McLaurin was the icing on the cake. A 66-yard bomb on a 3rd and 13 was one of the most beautiful plays of the game. And as if that wasn't enough, he broke another NFL record during this game. Daniels is increasingly established as the best rookie quarterback in the league, and with 12 more games ahead, it's hard to imagine that he won't win the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. And, if he keeps up this pace, who knows, we might enter the league MVP discussion. Of course, it's still early, but it doesn't hurt to dream, right? Now, let's think about the future. With the defense playing at this level and Daniels leading the offense so efficiently, the Commanders are all set to fight for a playoff spot. And you, fan, what do you think? Was this victory against the Browns a preview of what's to come? Are we seeing the beginning of a historic run? I want to hear your opinion in the comments. And of course, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with other Commanders fans. Let's grow this community and continue following this promising season together. The game against the Browns started with the expectation that their defensive line, especially with Myles Garrett, would cause many problems for the Commanders' offense. Anyone who follows the NFL knows how much of a nightmare Garrett is for opposing quarterbacks. But what happened on the field was nothing short of impressive. The Commanders' offensive line was perfect. I know it sounds like an exaggeration, but it's true. They managed to contain Garrett in a way that he didn't even appear on the stat sheet. That's right, folks. Not a single tackle, not an assist, nothing. This is the kind of feat you need to appreciate because, for those who know the NFL, this is something practically unprecedented in the career of a player like Garrett, and it doesn't stop there. To give you an idea of how surprising it was, the Browns guard, Joel Bitonio, an offensive lineman, finished the game with more tackles than Garrett. Can you believe that? The guy who should have been stopping the offense literally became invisible. This shows how precise Coach Cliff Kingsbury's planning was and how the players on the field executed the plan masterfully. Garrett simply didn't have a chance to shine, and that's something you rarely see. And if you're a true Commanders fan, you know how much this can mean for the rest of the season. After all, if our offensive line managed to shut down a guy like Garrett, imagine what they can do against other defenses. Are you getting excited? If so, take advantage and comment below what you thought of this performance. Now, talking about the Commanders' ground game, what a spectacle. Since the beginning of the season, the running game has been one of the team's most lethal weapons, and this game was no different. In the first half, the Commanders had already run 18 times for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns, an average of 7.0 yards per carry. That's simply insane. Even when we take out Daniels' runs, we still had 78 yards on 10 carries. The highlight, of course, was Austin Eckler's 50-yard run, which gave us that boost and increased our lead to 10-3. The ground game was, without a doubt, the decisive factor in the Commanders' dominance. With each play, the Browns' defense seemed more lost, and our offense just kept growing. What's most impressive is the consistency. At the end of the day, we finished with 215 yards and 2 touchdowns on 34 carries, maintaining an average of 6.3 yards per attempt. This, folks, is the kind of number that makes any fan smile from ear to ear. 3 runs of more than 28 yards, and 3 players with more than 44 yards. This shows how versatile and dangerous the Commanders' ground attack is. And, as we've been seeing since the preseason, this offensive unit is sharp and ready to face any challenge that comes their way. By the way, if you're enjoying this powerful Commanders offense, send this video to that friend who still doesn't believe in our team. But it's not just the offense that's been putting on a show. The Commanders' defense has also been improving, and this is essential if we want to continue this winning streak. Winning in the trenches, both on offense and defense, is what makes the difference in November, December, and the playoffs. The defensive line, along with the pass rush, is becoming more and more efficient. If they maintain this level of performance, we can dream big. And here's a question for you, fan. With this defensive line holding down the fort and the ground attack destroying, do the Commanders have what it takes to go far in the playoffs? Leave your opinion in the comments. Speaking of playoffs, let's be honest. The situation is looking more and more favorable. With this dominant victory, the Commanders now have 4 straight wins, and the numbers speak for themselves. In the last 2 games, the combined score was 76-27 in favor of the Commanders. Daniels is playing at his best, the defense is finding the right rhythm, and even the special teams are doing their job properly. With a relatively easy schedule ahead, we have the 7th easiest strength of schedule going into Week 5, which only increases our chances of securing a playoff spot. Folks, this is real. If everything continues at this pace, the Commanders could be on their way to a historic season. So, do you think we can maintain this level until the end? Don't forget to share this video with friends and debate here in the comments. Well, folks, that was the summary of another great Commanders victory. The offensive line showed an impeccable performance in neutralizing Myles Garrett, and the ground attack continues to be one of the team's great strengths. The defense is growing at the right time, and if all goes well, the playoffs are just around the corner. Now, I want to hear from you. With all these pieces falling into place, will the Commanders be one of the surprises of the season? What do you think? Let's see how much confidence you have in our team. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more news like this, and of course, leave a like to help spread this content to other fans. Let's cheer for the Commanders together until the end of the season.